Android and iPhone users, for the full version of WFO Radio, download the WFO Radio app. It's sports radio for racing fans.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The ultimate racing show, including WFO Radio NHRA Nitro, WFO Radio Ignition, the WFO Radio NASCAR Tailgate Party, news, videos, push notifications, and more.
I just hope I'm part of it.
Go to the App Store or Android Market, search WFO Radio, and download it now.
All right, we're going to roll into our post-race media availability here at Martinsville Speedway for the first Data 500. We've now been joined by our second-place finisher, Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 FedEx Freight Toyota. We will take questions for Denny. If you have one, please raise your hand, state your name and affiliation, and we'll start in the back with Jacob.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. Denny, two for you. First, obviously, I know how much this track means to you and what it would have meant to get another win here today. On that last lap, as they're starting to crash in front of you, what's going through your mind as you duck to the bottom and try to fit through that hole and avoid them to get to the flag?
Crash harder. Just crash harder. That was all I was hoping. I was trying to get as close as I could. It just took me so long to get around the 18 and the 2. And, because our car just would not take off on the short run and was so exceptionally good on the long run. That 40-lap run at the end just was a killer for us. But, I don't think I would do anything different. I mean, I rode behind the 18. I was trying to be respectful of him and obviously his situation. You don't want to kind of move a teammate out of the way, especially – if he needs that 1 point when it comes down to the end. But I knew we were fast enough to drive up there and pass those guys. So it just took me, 6-7 laps, maybe 10 to get around the 18, 3 or 4 more to get around the 2. And then I just ran as hard as I could those last 3 laps to get as close to the front 2 as possible because I knew something would happen. So I just wanted to be as close as I could and hopefully capitalize. And, it's just a 10th away.
In the position that you're in, and you kind of spoke to it, what's the balance over those closing laps of being respectful to those championship contenders, but in your position trying to chase that win?
Well, it stinks. I mean, ultimately, the reason we kind of lost that track position is we were letting teammates in, but ultimately that's what we agreed upon, and I would expect the same thing from my teammates if I was in that situation, and they were me and I was them. So that part of it stinks, but it's twofold. You hope that you're the guy that's getting let in next time. So we worked really well together as teammates. I thought it was a great team effort. We're hoping one of our cars would get a win, but obviously it didn't. But we all had a good showing, and it looks like the 2 Toyotas that are left obviously are in a good points position.
All right, I believe we had another question in the back. Then we'll come up front. Go ahead.
John Herverlin, ESPN Albuquerque. Denny, did you feel that was a fair move or an unfair move? And just what are your thoughts on that last part there?
I think it just depends on who your favorite driver is. I mean, I think the people that don't like it, the people that don't like Joey and the people that do like Joey. I think it's just all about who you are and whether they like you or not. I mean, I think that the 22 saw he was in a vulnerable position. They were side by side for 2 laps, and the 22 was on the outside, and that's a position where you can't do anything to the leader. So it looked like to me that he conceded the spot on the white flag lap, and then once I saw that he conceded the spot and filed in behind him, I knew that we were in for an exciting turns 3 and 4. So I knew it was coming. Everyone probably saw that it was coming. So I just think that it would have been still a cool battle if they would have just stayed side by side, but I think the 22 thought that he wasn't going to win that way.
All right, we'll go Jerry, Matt. Go ahead.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and PRN. Denny, you've been in that position before. How much pressure is it on a driver who's racing that close as you're watching up there, knowing that that's their shot to make it to the championship round?
Yeah, it's super high stakes. but also the 22 and the 78 were up front all day, so they had quite a bit of stage points, and so ultimately you can't count on who's going to win the next 2 weeks, so they can't count on getting in points, but you ultimately don't want to jeopardize both ways of getting the Homestead, both a win and through points. That's why I was so surprised that 22 was fighting us tooth and nail there for 1 point at the end of the second stage, but we were racing for the stage win, and if I was the roles were reversed, I'd be thinking, man, that guy's got nothing to lose. I do. So it's they had a lot of nerve, but I mean they kept up front. The 2 and the 22 were super aggressive on all the restarts, and that allowed them to be fast on the short run and ultimately put the 22 and the 2 in a good position to win at the end.
All right, Matt, go ahead.
Matt Weaver, Auto Week. It seems like everyone today has a fix for NASCAR, whether it's rules packages or schedules or whatever, but that's kind of got to be the fix, right, when you look at that on the TV?
Certainly. I mean, we've had some great races and great finishes this year, and ultimately it's all revolves around short tracks. I mean, it's just, you take aerodynamics out of the way and you get back to old school racing, and that just you can have this every week if you really wanted, no matter what car we drove. If it had 6 tires or a 12-inch spoiler or no spoiler, you would have racing like this no matter what package, as long as the racetrack allows it. And this one does.
All right, we'll go upstairs to the press box. Any questions in the press box for Denny?
I think we're good up here.
All right, coming back downstairs. Any final questions for Denny? All right. Well, Denny, we appreciate you spending some time with us. Best of luck next weekend. Thanks. All right, we're going to roll into our post-race availabilities now with our winning team. We have been joined by team owner Roger Penske and race-winning crew chief Todd Gordon of the number 22 Pennzoil Ford. And we will take questions for Roger or Todd. I'm sure we have a few. If you have one, please raise your hand, state your name and affiliation, and we'll start up front with Bob.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. Roger, Martin Truex Jr. called it a cheap shot and a cheap win. I'm curious if you saw it that way.
I certainly didn't, and he's a racer and should know better than to say that. That was as clean a shot as you can have in a race like this. I didn't hear Kyle Busch or the 42 have any of that kind of conversation, after that race. So to me, I'm looking forward. We wanted to go to Miami, and to me, Joey drove a great race. He led most of the race, I think, if you look at the number of laps. And as far as I'm concerned, that's just a comment that I don't think we deserve, and we'll race him day after day. So, sure, it's some controversy that he's trying to spread, but from my perspective, Joey drove a great race. The team won on pit road. You could see that how many times he got out front, and certainly leading the number of laps shows the kind of car we had and the job that Todd and the team did. So that's my position.
All right, Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and Performance Racing Network. Obviously, in other auto sport genres, we hear of team orders. With Brad up there battling with Joey, there obviously didn't look like there were any team orders, but were you nervous with those two guys being so close?
Not at all. Brad knew what had to happen here today, and, I told him just use your heads. That's all I said, and he knew exactly, what was going on. So, obviously, we could go back to the first question. Brad could have blocked the 78, and you saw he didn't make it too hard for him to go by. So let's get on with it.
All right. Get a microphone to Matt, please.
Matt Weaver with Auto Week. Roger, over here in the center. It seems like everyone has a fix for NASCAR these days. We have the new rules package coming out next year. We had talked about the Roval, and you thought the Roval was a good idea in short spurts. But a lot of people seemed into what they saw tonight. Is this the direction that NASCAR should really consider more and more? Short tracks?
Well, I think that, to build a track today and find the land and somewhere in the country to add another, consolation probably be very tough. But I think NASCAR is going to try with the rules to tighten it up as much as they can. But, these tracks like Bristol and certainly Martinsville are special places, and you can see the kind of racing we have here. And, Joey's had some good luck here and some bad luck also, as most of you know.
All right. Go upstairs for just a minute. Any questions in the press box?
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
LeeSpencerRacingBoys.com. Roger, considering that Joey Logano has been to the Final Four, this will be his third time in 5 years since it was introduced. What is it going to have to take for, and Todd, you can answer this as well, what's it going to take for him finally to break through? He's had a lot of heartbreak in that final race.
Well, I think it's be interesting to see who are the other three competitors. It's going to be very interesting, but it's going to be tough. There's no question. You know, the pressure's on the next two races for the next three. So what we're going to do is do our homework and try to go there with the best car. And certainly I think Joey and Todd have, if you look at the momentum over the last 8 or 9 weeks, I think we're certainly in the right position. And our goal, obviously, to come out with the trophy at the end.
All right. Any additional questions upstairs?
I think we're okay up here.
Okay, we'll come back downstairs and we'll take one from Dustin and Jim and then Jacob in the back.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. I have two questions, one for Roger, one for Todd. Roger, your comments to the first question, you came out very strongly. Why? You've been in racing long enough. You know that things like this are going to happen. People are going to. Why do you react so strongly? Why does it bother you so much, the comments of Martin in this case?
Well, I think that Joey drove a great race. He didn't knock him off the racetrack. It was side by side racing at the end. You could see that nobody lifted. And to me, I just want to be sure people know my position is. I thought it was fair. I thought it was square, and Joey deserved the win.
And for Todd, obviously with being the first one in. We've seen once before somebody won Martinsville, went on to win Miami. Does this allow, obviously you guys go to win every week, how does this allow you to change your preparation or put more emphasis on Miami, or is there really anything more you can do these next 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think it does, actually. It allows you to just not be so focused on Texas and what we've got to do at Texas to win, because in our situation, you look at here in Texas as both being great racetracks for us, Phoenix probably being a struggle for us the last year or so. So, it allows us to kind of turn one eye towards Homestead and just and work on the preparation for what we've got to have there, and knowing we're in a position that we can be at least broadly looking forward to that, and not super focused on what happens this weekend, upcoming weekend with Texas. So I still feel like we had a great test at Texas. I think we had speed there. I think we've had good runs there, and I think we can do that again. But it definitely does allow us to at least look a little bit down the horizon to Homestead and what we've got to do to make sure we're good there.
All right, Jim, go ahead.
Jim Hunter, Motorsport.com. Could you just address your take on Bob's question just about the end of the race and how you saw it unfold?
Yeah, I mean, I think Martinsville is a historic racetrack that's short track racing where we all came from. I think the job that Goodyear's done with the tire they brought here the last 2 years has led to side by side racing, and we had great competition, and it's rubbing, it's racing, and when you put a prize that's a guaranteed ticket to the championship 4 on this race, you're going to have that kind of racing. I think that's just kind of what the atmosphere creates. And to Roger's point, we came off a turn 4 side by side. It's not like somebody ended up out in the wall and spun out. And there's a huge prize there, and you've got to race hard for it.
All right, Jacob, go ahead.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport, for both of you. In a year where really the win column has been dominated by Stuart Haas and the 18 and the 78, does this kind of a win, first race in the round of 8, does this make a statement for this team that, hey, we're still here, we're not going away?
Well, I think it's been a great year for us, winning the Brickyard and the Southern 500, and, we had 5 wins plus a couple of wins in the at Daytona before the 500. So I wouldn't say it's been a bad year for us. To me, it's been a spectacular year, and this obviously, kind of caps the first part of this season, and then we go into the last race, for the championship.
All right. Go ahead. Right. Yep. Perfect. Thank you.
Christian Coley, FrontStretch.com, the Motorsports News Source. This question is for both of you. Last time Joey Logano won the first race in the playoffs, he went on to win both the second and third rounds of the playoff. Do you think there's anything, in that time there was something to gain from it? Right now there's not really anything to gain except for momentum. Do you think there's anything to gain other than the momentum?
Well, I think momentum's a huge thing in professional sports, and this is one of them. I think when you look at it, when you're successful, it builds success, and there is momentum to gain. And when you look forward, I think Texas is going to be a great racetrack for us, and something that when we did that and swept the round with Talladega, Charlotte, and Kansas, we were in a position once we made the first win that we could then just race a little bit more free. You're not focused on what if, you're just focused on trying to race and win, and I think that can happen in the same situation here. We can go to Texas and be very competitive, and that builds the momentum going to Homestead.
All right, we'll come back up from Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Todd, you had a new Jackman today. That was the only change in your crew. Obviously, you guys were fast off pit road today. It's easy to assume just one change changes that. What led to the greater success on pit road? How did the new Jackman play a role? But what else played a role in that today? Because I'm assuming it wasn't just one person.
Well, I'd say that the biggest part that made a difference there is that it's the leadership that this guy sitting to my left brings to our program. That this is Team Penske first, and it's not the 22 or the 2 or the 12. And I've learned some lessons with that and continue to learn. But it's Team Penske. And when we got to a position where we had one car left that had an opportunity to race to Homestead, everybody at the shop and the athletic department came forward and said, how do we make our best pit crew? And it's a testament to how closely our teams work together, because when you make a change like that, personalities sometimes don't touch and click, and chemistry isn't built right off, and then you don't have all the potential that you had. But our groups work together, they practice together, and they focus together. And kudos to Jeremy Bullins and Ryan Blaney for making the sacrifice to let us put this kind of the best foot forward that we could, and definitely put us in a position. We got off pit road first, from third and from farther back. So phenomenal effort on pit road, and I think a testament to Team Penske, the message that Roger sends to all of us.
All right, we'll get a microphone back to Barry, please.
Barry Richmond, WAKJ Piedmont Broadcasting Corporation. Todd, as we're looking at the layout of the races throughout the playoffs, I guess with the addition to Roval, Talladega being at a critical point, and then, of course, Martinsville, does it feel like that there's a wild card in each of these various segments, or is this just what you do week in, week out?
I definitely feel like, the addition of the Roval brought a wild card to the first round, because none of us knew what to expect. So there was a lot of anxiety about it, and a lot of gray hair that was gained. Talladega's always been that way, but it's another place that if you execute, you can kind of get your way through. I don't see this round as having a wild card. I think when you look at this round, it's got three definite genres of racetracks. You've got this place, a historic, traditional short track racetrack. Half mile, you're not worried about whether the splitter's a millimeter higher off the racetrack or anything else. You're worried about just making your car turn and drive. And then you go to Texas, which is an intermediate, high-speed intermediate, and then Phoenix, which is kind of a in-between, a short track. It's a high-speed short track. So we've got three unique racetracks in this last round that I think bring the strengths of different teams to different racetracks, and an opportunity to capitalize on where your strengths are.
All right. Any additional questions? Just checking back upstairs. Any final questions upstairs in the press box?
I think we're clear up here.
All right. Any final questions? All right. Well, congratulations on officially checking the box to Homestead, and we wish you guys the best of luck over the next couple weeks.
Thank you.
We will be joined by Joey Logano here momentarily.
Okay, we are now here with the winner of the first Data 500, driver of the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford for Team Penske, and that is Joey Logano, the first driver to lock up a spot in the Championship 4 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Maybe just open it up with a few comments about running for another championship.
Yeah, it's huge to be in that Championship 4 again. This will be our third time we've been in there, so we hope this time is the time that we finally get the big trophy at the end. But obviously today is a Amazing race car. A car that we were able to drive to the front. But probably even more spectacular was the pit crew. They were on their game today, just laying down great stops every time, gaining spots. And, when you're out front here at Martinsville, you're able to, clean air. It means a lot, but it means a lot for different reasons than it would at a Miami or a Phoenix or whatever it is. I think when you're out front, you're able to control your own pace and keep a lot of air to your brakes and keep your car cool, and it pays off on the long run. If you get yourself mired back in the pack and you're 5th, 6th, or further back, you're stacked up on other cars and your car's getting hot, you're having to race things harder than you want to, and before you know it, you pay the penalty on the long run. So the pit stops were really, I think, the game-changing moment today for us to keep us out front. And then there at the end, just got tight. We made some adjustments to try to fire off better there, and it did not work. But we were able to hold them off and almost hold them off, and then be able to make the move there at the end to get the win.
All right. Thank you, Joey. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. Let's start with Dustin, and then we'll get to everybody.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. I'm sure you've heard it. Martin Truex called it a cheap shot, a cheap win. Your reaction, does it even matter that he's upset with you?
No, of course it matters to me. I think, as a race car driver, you think about a lot of things, but, my goal was not to wreck him. In any way. My goal is to win the race, but I don't want to win by dumping somebody. I want to win by, making a move. And, as the classic bump and run, that is the move that our sport in Martinsville in particular was built on. And I feel like I owe it to my race team to do everything I can and to be able to win a race and get ourselves for having a shot at a championship. That's my job. They did their job today, and I had to do mine. And, like I said, it wasn't a move that I sent them 3 lanes up the racetrack. I was able to just get underneath them, and then we bumped and banged across the line. That's the way that I wanted to do it, to be able to get a win. I didn't, like I said, I wasn't going to spin them out. Didn't want to crash them. Didn't want to do anything like that. But I know how big of a deal it is to win any race. But when you get to Martinsville, this is probably the second most important race to win all year if you're still in the playoffs and to get yourself to Miami. And now there's just one more. So we got to focus hard on Miami right now.
And Joe, I want to be careful because I don't want to compare these situations too much. But in your situation a few years ago with Matt, when you had that race at Kansas, you didn't go talk to him. I think you talked about, Todd talked about, maybe that was a mistake at that point, not trying to reach out and communicate. Is there even any reason to want to talk to Martin at this point or some point before Homestead, because he's given the impression that, he's got a memory and what's been done to him will be done to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously we'll talk someday. When, I don't know yet. Just give me a minute. I just got here. I can't give you all the answers yet. Give me a chance. But, I'm sure we will talk about it, and it's probably smart that we all kind of cool off first. But, I think in general, this move here is a very different move, and was able to, like I said, we didn't crash. We've seen that move here how many times? I don't know, but quite a bit over the last 70 years or so here. That's what this racetrack's built on, and I would be expecting the same thing if the roles were reversed. I would be frustrated if I was him also. You're right there at it. I get it. It's racing. It's hard. It's not not everyone's happy about it, and there's going to be people that love it, and there's going to be people that don't, and that's up to them to decide. But I know what I had to do to get my team into the championship four and ultimately win the race today.
What about
Bob Pocker, CSPN? Martin said that he wouldn't have done that move to you, and I'm curious in the sense of whether it was a cheap shot or not a cheap shot. How, when you have the trophy in a championship, are you able as a driver to say, do something that maybe you're not the most proud of to win a championship? I mean, is that okay?
I think it's how what it is. Every scenario is different, right? And this situation, like I said, if I spun him out, I'd feel pretty bad right now. I'd say, yeah, I did not mean to do that, and that was not the goal. That's a different story, and I think I'd be feeling a lot different right now. The fact that he still finished in the top three. We had a hard race. We raced the heck out of each other. He bumped me a couple times when he was trying to get by me. I get it. Don't blame him. It's racing. I'm not putting fault on anyone or if anyone would do anything different. Every driver has to have their opinion, and we're all up, and everyone in this room will have their own opinion, and that's okay. It's up to you guys to decide what you want, but the facts are it's over now, and now it's time to move on.
Peter Strada with TSJ Sports. Joey, this is your 20th career win in the Cup Series. When compared against the Daytona 500, which one is bigger, given the playoff format?
It's hard to say that anything's bigger than a Daytona 500, but to me, this is definitely one of maybe a top 3 or 4 win in my career. And I guess if we win Miami, that would be bigger than Daytona 500 at this point, that we have a shot to win a championship there. So, but Martinsville's always been a special place. Is on the top of my list to get a win because we've been so close so many times, lit so many laps, sat up here with a lot of poles, but never was able to finish the deal off. And just a great feeling to finally get that done and get that grandfather clock. So, like I said, I'm proud of my race team. I'm proud of the car they brought today and the way the whole team executed to ultimately get here. I think that's, to me, a big story and that I'm going to bring back to our race shop and be proud of that. So, big momentum builder. We'll think about Miami for the next 2 races. Obviously, that's the biggest advantage, but we're also not going to lay down these next 2 races either. There's still 2 races to win. There's momentum to keep up right now and make sure we get ourselves ready.
Mike Massey with FrenchStretch.com. Before Truex got to you, you had to hold off your teammate who was hounding you for several laps. Were you worried at all that Brad was going to dump you or anything? And is there like a code between you guys for how to race each other when it comes down to the last 10 laps?
Well, obviously, he wanted to win. He showed that, and I wanted to win. Obviously, the win to me meant a lot more. And obviously, he wants to prove that he's a championship car as well. After everything that's happened in the last round, and I get that. He was faster than me at the moment, and then we were able to kind of fight that battle and stay ahead. And then at that point, I was hoping he just raced the 78 as hard as possible to create some gap because I saw how fast the 78 was taking off there and running us down. So we did what we can do there to try to fight there. But I get it. He's out here trying to win too. It's a race. It's not just 8 cars going for a win. There's still 40 of them out there.
Jerry, Jacob, Ellen, and check out in the press box.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and Performance Racing Network. With this win, you're locked in. But how much pressure is that off your shoulders, knowing that the next 2 races you can work on whatever you need to for Homestead?
It doesn't. I mean, I guess it relieves some pressure for the next 2 weeks. Yes, the pressure's off, at least for those races. But like I said, there's still a trophy there, and I want to win it. That doesn't change, and I'm pretty sure my whole race team thinks the same way as I do. Is if there's a trophy, we want to be taking it home at the end of the day. But the must-win feeling, that's gone. But there's in a couple of weeks, it's back in our mind again when we get to Miami, and that's a must-win race.
And also, you mentioned trophies. You've got one of the coolest ones in the sport off to your right. How neat is that for you to bring that home, and where will it be? And will it keep Little Man up?
Well, it's when we were able to win here a few years back with the truck race, driving Brad's car, or truck, I guess I should say. I got a clock, and it's still at the house. It rings every single night. It keeps going, and it doesn't wake him up, so that's good. But obviously, it's one of the most iconic trophies in our sport, mainly because it's so unique and it's been around for so long. And everyone talks about coming here and winning the clock. Only how many times I hear tick-tock before the race. Everyone wants that clock and knows what it means to win here at Martinsville. It's a historic racetrack. It's been here for so long, and so many great races have been on this racetrack and great stories. And it's all for this grandfather clock, so it's neat to be able to put that in the truck and bring it home.
Over to Jacob.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. Joey, off to your right back here.
Oh, there you are.
And
Hey.
so Roger was in here earlier and asked him if he felt like this was a statement victory, and he kind of downplayed it, saying that between you and Brad and even Blaney, that as an organization, it had been a really good year for Team Penske as a whole. But as a driver, do you feel like in terms of the championship, this is a statement win for you, knowing how good the SHR and the JGR cars have been?
Yeah, we've really picked it up here the last few weeks, and super proud of our race team and race shop to be able to do that. You look at the last 15 races for us, has been pretty good. We've been consistent. We've been leading laps. We've been scoring stage points, which shows that there's speed in the car. And anytime you lead a lot of laps, you know the win's right around the corner. So we're getting back to that championship form, and I think today we proved that we're back there. It's taken a while to kind of recover for us over the last couple of years. It's been a lot of struggling and a lot of different things going on, and I think we've fought hard, we've stuck together, and we've been able to today come out on top. So this will all be, like I said, this will all be history here in a couple of weeks, and won't mean anything if we don't win the championship.
Ellen, and then we'll check up in the press box. And Bob.
Ellen Hara, USA Today. When Denny was in here, he was asked for his perspective of the final couple laps, what he saw riding behind you and Martin, and he said that he didn't think you could win once Truex got inside of you and you on the outside, and that your only choice was to concede the position to get back behind him and then end it how it ended. Do you agree with Hamlin, or do you think had you stayed side by side, you could have pulled it off?
I guess we'll never know. I know I couldn't stay out there. I was trying to, and the way my car was, I had to pretty much park in the center to get it to rotate, and then it would just get cars stacked right up on top of me and exit the corner with the car right behind me. I had no air on the spoiler, and it was really loose. So it was really hard for me to drive away. So moving up the racetrack was faster for me, and at that point it was kind of move up and then just be able to try to hold pin cars down on the bottom. That was kind of my only play at the moment. So I was doing all I can just to stay within striking distance, and it was definitely on the defense is all I can do to stay there. And was that the plan the whole time? No, the plan was to stay in the lead the whole time. It was never to give the spot up. That was the last thing on my mind.
Any questions in the press box?
We do.
Yeah, Chris Knight, CatchFence.com. Joey, how strong, is there anything that you guys can do to get stronger over these next couple of weeks to prepare yourself to battle with the likes of Harvick and potentially Kyle Busch? And how do you guys approach Homestead?
I'm sure there will definitely be ways that we can improve. I think right now, let me enjoy the moment for a minute, man. Come on, this is cool. But there's definitely going to be a lot of things we're going to be talking about in the next few weeks, and on how we prepare and make sure we're as ready as possible.
Anything else from the press box?
I got one more.
Okay.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. To kind of follow up on that, 3 times, I guess this is your 3rd time going down to Homestead. Finished second once, had that really disappointment when that late caution came out and kind of turned into a you-know-what show. Or would you just as soon see these races go clean? Because we saw a lot of things today that maybe could have had cautions called but didn't. I mean, do you kind of like this new style where it just kind of goes green to the end?
I mean, I didn't see really today. It seemed like there's cautions and they were legit, and it was good.
We're going to Homestead!
Woo! Heck yeah. We're going to Homestead. They're pretty excited. There's my team. Hell yeah. Hope they got a DD to get home. I need them. I need them a little bit more, a little longer. I don't have no idea what the question was anymore. What'd you say, Lee?
Sorry, Jerry. It just seems lately we haven't had cautions just
called
at the drop of a hat. I mean, we've seen guys slow. They kind of limp their way back. Saw it last week at Kansas. Are you more in favor of just kind of letting things play out rather than, what we had when we had that drama and, you were in the lead at Homestead and it all kind of went away?
Yeah, I think, the races have been legit, and I think that's great. And that's part of the great thing about stage racing is it puts in a couple cautions to where you can, for NASCAR, they can call a legit race, whether that's a race that goes long, whether it's a fuel mileage race, or if there is naturally a caution and you get the great racing that you see at the end. Either way, the race winner is the race winner these days, and they get there for a reason, and it's whether it's strategy or the long haul or a short run car. I think that's cool, and you don't know what's going to happen. That's how it is. I think back in the day we used to all kind of expect that late race caution either way, but now it seems like the race is going to play out naturally on how it works, and we don't know how that will be.
Anything else in the press box?
I think we're clear.
Okay, we'll come back down here.
Behind the camera, John Harver, ESPN Albuquerque. I felt like this car was probably the best you ever had. Would you agree? I was looking at the stats, and your car at this race in 2015 in the fall race was also really good. So, do you feel like one car was maybe better than the other? Could you talk about that?
I'd say the car was pretty good. I like to think that the one that didn't end so well, I think that car may have been a tick better. It seemed like I was able to control the race a little bit better that day. But this wasn't a bad one. Pretty good car.
Come up here, Dustin, for a follow-up.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. After going through last year and being so close at 16, what does it mean to get back? What has that journey been like to this moment?
Yeah, it's great to. You think about a couple years ago we finished second in points, and then we follow that up with missing the playoffs. Who would have ever thought that? That's something that I was taking for granted, that making the playoffs would have been easy, and to kind of have that check up. It happens. I think God does that sometimes to teach you some valuable lessons, and I think I learned a lot in those situations, and become a stronger race car driver and a stronger man since then. And now we've been able to take that and recover this year and get ourselves to the championship 4, and that's a pretty big deal. So pretty neat that we've been able to kind of bounce back from all that. So it says a lot about our race team and our personalities and that persistence that we continue to have. So definitely is a great, like I said, a great day today to put ourselves back in that championship 4. But like I said, all this doesn't mean anything if we don't win the championship. So we got to really focus in.
What was Homestead like last year?
Last year?
Did you just not even want to be there?
Well, I want to be there. I still like driving race cars. I really like driving a race car for a championship, though. Yes. So, yeah. This always comes back to my mind for whatever reason. I remember the first chase at the time that I made, and Jimmy Johnson said it's 10 weeks of hell. And I told him this year, I said, no, missing the whole thing is 10 weeks of hell. Not being in it is way worse. And I don't want to feel that feeling again. Not at all. That is not a fun time. So to be able to keep our hopes alive and throughout this whole 10 weeks is something that I'm proud of as a driver, and I'm proud of my race team as well.
On the back, Barry.
Barry Richmond, PMOD Broadcast and WAKG. A few weeks ago in Charlotte, I talked to Roger Penske, and we talked about you guys peaking at the right time. And, of course, he said for these championship run, you all are always bringing your best stuff, which has been very evident. But I want you to talk about the dynamic of expanding the team with Ryan Blaney. There was an arm's length relationship there when he was with Wood Brothers, but how has that actually just strengthened the team? Because it looks like it's been a lot of good results coming out, especially the second half of this year.
Yeah, there's definitely some growing pains along with that, because anytime you add another race team, you think about the personnel, the procedures, how you build a car, you got to build more, right? And how you update cars and get them all to the racetrack as quickly as we used to. There's growing pains that come along with that. I think we worked through that in the first part of the year, And now, I mean, you look at that 12 car is fast. Arguably, maybe the fastest of the three of us. Sometimes, a lot of times. So it's definitely a great car for us to lean on, talk about. Definitely that information that's being shared now really is helpful. And I think a lot of that's because Ryan Blaney has really matured as a race car driver and really has figured out what he needs to go fast and how to go fast at a lot of different racetracks. And now, instead, when he was driving the 21 and he's a rookie, and as expected, it's kind of a one-way relationship. It's kind of, here's what we're doing, and you kind of take what he said with a grain of salt. Now, as he's been so competitive, there's definitely that back and forth. There's definitely, we look at what they're doing a lot.
Joey, Pete McCall with AutoRacing1.com over here. Hey. As Dustin alluded to earlier, Martin Truex seemed to suggest that payback might be in the offing sometime in the near future. Has that changed the way you drive with him on the racetrack? Does that change your strategy any when you have him in your rearview mirror?
Like I said, I didn't crash him. I didn't crash him. We raced hard. I moved him out of the way. They're moving 4 lanes up the racetrack. No, I just got enough to get my nose under there. That's what happened. In the heat of the moment, we're all going to say things we regret, no matter what. I'm not saying he regrets it. I don't know. But I know I've said things in the heat of the moment that I wish I didn't a lot of times. And it's, like I said, it's part of racing. And how he wants to handle it from here, that's his decision, how he wants to handle that. But like I said, my focus can't be on that. It has to be on winning a championship. It has to be about Miami right now. And there can't be distractions.
Any final questions for Joey? Oh, Jim up here in the front.
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. I was just curious, the last 2 races, you've led a combined over 400 laps, which is possibly close to or more than you've led the whole rest of the season. You talked about reaching championship potential. Do you feel like you have reached that potential specifically in the last couple weeks?
I think we're showing it. Yeah, I do. And we're there. So obviously, we've gotten to that point. If you asked me in the beginning of the playoffs, I was kind of, we were consistent. We were getting a lot of top 10s, but we weren't really a threat to win yet. But I think over the last few races, maybe 5 or 6 races, we've really, been able to pick it up and show that we can become a threat. And I think today, with the way our pit stops were and the speed, and there was no mistakes made all day long on anyone's part. And I think that's when you know you're in championship form.
A quick follow-up: when Brad got eliminated, did you feel your chances changed, good, bad, different at all?
I think you always want all the cars in there, right? You want as many shots that you can get for Roger Penske, for everyone that works at Team Penske to get a championship. It affects so many people's livelihoods, right? The bonuses that come along with everyone that works at the race shop. There's a lot that goes along with these things that for us at the racetrack, we kind of think about winning in the championship, but it affects people's life in a lot of different ways. When we're a performance-based company, like most racing companies are, so you don't ever want to see that opportunity for them go away. The advantage part is that we're building, one car instead of trying to build 3 special cars, or in some cases 4 special cars, right? That are just massaged on and trying to get every little bit out of, and so that's the advantage, I guess. But I don't think it's the advantage that anyone wanted. I think it's up to us to try to find an advantage a lot of times in a negative situation like that. But we were able to use it to our advantage, I guess, a little bit here today.
Jerry Jordan, Kicking the Tires.net, PRN. Over the past couple of weeks, probably everybody in here has bought a lottery ticket for Powerball or Mega Millions and thought how cool it would be to win that. But can you let yourself think about how cool it would be to win the championship? Do you let yourself do that?
Of course I do. I'm human. I don't know if my fantasy land is very close to reality. A lot of times it's a little different. But, the championship is the ultimate goal. That is what I've said since I was 6 years old and I got in a race car, I want to win a NASCAR championship, and been close a couple times now, and I know how much it hurts to lose. So I can only imagine what winning feels like. It must be the polar opposite. That must feel pretty good. I like to win. That'd be pretty cool.
All right, Joey, congratulations. Thank you so much for coming in and spending so much time with us, and good luck in Homestead.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a safe trip home.
This is WFO Radio.